All right, so next video here. So we placed an order for Riley's K-member 2 weeks ago. One item was back ordered, so we had to wait a little longer than we wanted. So anyway, in the meantime, what Riley mainly did, we figured we'd detail the engine bay and clean it up, give it a fresh coat of paint. He greased it all really good, soap and water, wax and grease remover, and then we gave it a coat of primer and some flat black paint. Sandblasted the brake booster, Riley painted the wiper motor. Still a little bit more organizing to do back in this general wire area. It's my favorite. But anyway, so yeah, while we were waiting. These parts that showed up, so same thing, sandblasted the spindles, control arms, putting new ball joints in them. The struts were the shits that were in the car, so got 2 new KYB struts. Foxbody K-member here for the LS swap. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set this thing in right now and start putting this front end together so we can finally slide that motor in there. Okay? It's been too long. Yeah. It's only been half in.
It's about time.
Half in, half out. All right, so we got the K-member slid in. Went in pretty good. We had to open up one hole up a little bit to get the bolt to fit. Everything fit really good. Riley and I just spent the last 15, 20 minutes or so just squaring it up. The passenger side's got, fairly big slotted holes. We actually had to double up the washers. The driver's side isn't slotted as much, but that's it. So we're gonna get under there now and torque it down and maybe slide some control arms on there.
Hopefully.
Slid the control arms in, got the struts in, got the springs in. The only thing left to finish up there really is the factory brake calipers are a little rusty. So from previous videos, you've seen us use this Evapo-Rust chemical. It's does a really good job. And instead of sandblasting those calipers, I think we're gonna dip those in there for 48 hours or so, and then we'll see how they come out. Let's get dipping. She's gonna burn. Fucking Dodge. Back at it again here today. I think a couple videos ago, you saw that we had dropped in the motor. Fits real good. Lots of clearance, obviously. Not the first time an LS motor has been in a Foxbody. So we're real happy with that. With the driver's side header on, the factory steering shaft is not going to clear the header. Coming out of the firewall, that's fine and dandy. We're gonna leave that alone. And on the rag joint side, that's the problem, is this thing's, the outside diameter of it's too big and it hits the header tube. So what we're gonna do to fix that is we're just gonna order another U-joint for a, can't remember if it's the spline on the Ford power steering rack. I think it's 32 spline or something like that, to a 3/4 inch shaft. And we'll weld that on, and then that should fix this issue. And we'll put that back in. We ordered some more parts. Showed up last week here. We got Riley picked this TCI Automotive Outlaw style shifter. We had to get the optional 4-speed gate because we're using the 4L60. This is the Borgeson. I'm not even sure if that's correct pronunciation. This is the pressure reduction kit to go from a GM power steering pump to a Ford rack. And basically it's just a few shims in there. It takes the power steering pump pressure from 1500 PSI down to 1000 PSI, which is what the Ford rack wants. Also picked up these direct fit power steering hoses to go from the GM pump to the Ford rack. So that should make that easy. Ended up getting a FTI, it's a 3200 stall torque converter. It's 11-inch diameter, which is an inch smaller than stock. Still a pretty big unit. These things get pretty pricey when you start adding anti-balloon plates, and you know, if you wanted a 9.5 or 10-inch converter, that kind of drives the price up. And like I say, I've got some faith in the 4L60, but we don't want to dump a huge amount of money. We're going to see how it works. Either we'll upgrade to a 4L80 down the road, or leave this one alone until it breaks, kind of thing. But we'll see. Riley, I've got the shifter all mounted here, and you can see it's fits in there okay. We did a bit of cutting and modifying, but that's where he wanted it. Feels good for him. So that's all in and hooked up. Cables ran through underneath. So basically the transmission, I just need to pick up a couple liters of tranny fluid to fill the converter, or quarts, I guess you Americans say. We can get the transmission installed in the car. Oh, the other item I forgot to mention here, I don't know if some of you guys also watch Hunter Tuned on YouTube. We ended up buying his fuel rails that he had for sale. And he also sent us a set of cleaned and flowed stock injectors. So if you haven't checked him out already, check out Hunter Tuned, and we want to thank him for the deal that he gave us there on that stuff.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, so I think today what we're going to start is we're going to pull this power steering pump off and get that hooked up and see how that all works out. Remove this fitting here from the pump, and then behind that fitting is the flow valve, which is here, and then that's the comes with this tool, goes over the flow valve so you can put it in the vise and not damage it there. So we will clamp that in the vise and move on to step 3. All right, so we got our flow valve clamped up, and it simply says remove the 7/16 bolt from the valve, careful not to lose any parts, and place the shims underneath that bolt head. And the chart says Mustang rack and pinions generally require approximately 1,000 psi, and I believe I read somewhere that the GM pump is like 1,500 psi. So according to this, we need to add 3 shims to put us down to 1,000 psi. And apparently if you don't do this, like we didn't do this on the shit horse, and apparently they say if you don't, it makes the steering a little bit notchy. I can't honestly say that the steering in the shit horse feels notchy, but for the sake of reliability and drivability, I think this kit was like $17, so that's why we chose to pick it up. So we'll take that apart next here. It looks like there's a spring in here, so look for it to shoot me in the eye. This is where we want to be careful. Okay, so there's a ball down there. The magic of fluid power. The kit comes with 5 shims, so we're gonna use 3. 1, 2, 3, like so. You don't have any Q-tips in your pocket, eh?
Not on me.
Got our 3 shims. We're all cleaned up now. Want to make sure that ball lines up with this bolt. It looks like that's
all it takes.
all there is to it. Back in like so. And then this fit, it did come with a new O-ring, so we might as well change this O-ring while we're in here. You like that new shifter, right?
Yeah. Nice and sleek.
He's been playing with it. Yeah, it's a nice unit. I think originally he was asking, you were asking for a similar style to the one I have. I got a Cheetah in my car, but it didn't look like they made one with a 4-speed gate on it, so we went with the TCI one. And it's a nice piece for sure. Just gotta hook up the neutral safety switch and the reverse light switch. And we'll just reinstall this. So now, hook up our new hoses to the pump, and we'll unhook the power steering factory hoses off the rack, and then we'll combine the two, and then the power steering will be done.
Sounds good.
We vapor rusted those calipers, and we got them painted. So that completes our budget front end rebuild, although it didn't really end up being budget with the K member and whatnot. But anyway, it's there, it's done, everything's back together. Don't mind the rusty rotors. That's the only thing we haven't touched. It was, and I still may pull the seals out and the bearings out and dip those so everything's fresh. I mean, I guess you don't see those when they're when the wheel's on, but kind of ugly looking. So we'll see what happens there. But other than that, that's done for the front end. All right, so we got the hoses on, tightened down, so that's ready to go. That ended up turning out all nice. New fittings. The hoses are nice and tucked up. Our new remanufactured rack. And we're going to give a shout out to Phil at our local Napa. I phoned to pick that rack up, and he asked for my name, and he says, "You're not by chance Clayton from SPPTV, are you?" And I said, "Well, actually I am." So he gave me a good price on that. So thanks again, Phil from McPhillips Napa. So yeah, the power steering's done and out of the way.
Transmission.
Yes, our transmission is in. 4L60 in place, torque converters bolted in. We got our shifter cable hooked up. We have our AGE transmission cross membrane. Had to open the holes up on the where it bolts to the frame there. I think they're 10 mil or 12 mil or whatever they are from factory. Open those up to 1/2 inch. Tighten those down, and that's all done and ready to go. So I think the next segment of the project is going to be pulling the 7.5 inch diff that currently resides in the car. And as I've mentioned to you guys before, we picked up this, excuse the mess, picked up this 8.8 Ford here, and it already has a set of 373 gears in it, and should make for a nice highway gear with the overdrive. So that'll probably be the next thing we tackle in the next video. So if you like what you're seeing, tell your friends, like, subscribe, and all those fun things. And until next time, we'll check you later.
Yeah.